Okay, so yesterday I went ahead and just binged all of Symphogear XV. I watched all 13 episodes, and I'm now done with Symphogear. But this is not going to be me talking about the show as a whole. Like I said, I want to do a separate video on that, and for shits and giggles, since it's close enough, I'll probably do it on, like, Beaky's birthday, which I think is... I don't remember what day that is. It's sometime pretty early in September. This is just going to be talking about the final season. So I'm going to be doing it a bit differently than my usual Symphogear video, which usually amounts to, okay, this is some of the shit that happened in these 2 episodes, and here's all the cool, crazy shit that happened. I have it divided into sections. My first section is just talking about some of the general stuff that I noticed. One thing that I forgot to write down that I just remembered, I'm glad I did, is I noticed Akatsuki say death a lot more in this season. Like, she'll just say shit and then end with, like, des! And I know it's like, yeah, des, like, that's the D-E-S-U. Like, you hear that a lot in anime, but given her character, it sounds more like she's saying death, and I don't think that's unintentional, given her Grim Reaper shit. I didn't really notice it in previous seasons. Like, I might have noticed it a bit in season 4, but I don't remember it being much of a thing in season 2 or season 3, although in one of them, I think it was in season 3. It's like at the end of her transformation sequence, she like strikes the pose and goes, death! Which I thought was funny as hell. And then in season 5, like, oh, this is now like her catchphrase. I don't hate it by any means. It's like, has this been here the whole time and I'm only just noticing, or was this new? I'm not exactly sure, but I thought I should point it out. Let's see. The new transformations. Okay, so every season has new transformations, and probably before I do my wrapping up video, I do kind of want to watch all the transformation sequences again. It's like, it's easy to say, yeah, they're different every season. They just look better every season. Do they actually look better every season? I feel like, what the fuck was that, Bahamut, that scared the shit out of me? Sorry, my cat, I think, ran into, like, a box, and it made a sound, and I didn't know what was happening. Anyways, the transformation sequences in Season 5 are a lot more dynamic, and I think they're really good. I think my favorites of the bunch were Biki's and Suku's. Suku's just really fucking cool. Also, I had written this down. Just a shout out to Chris's, though, because she uses her boobs to load her guns, and that definitely got a laugh out of me. When it comes to the opening and the ending song didn't really do it for me. It was kind of like was it season 4 or season 3? I think season 4 was the ending I really liked. Season 3's was kind of okay. This one, very similarly, like, I didn't love it. I thought it was fine. Possibly the best opening in the show, though. Like, I feel like the opening is really one of those things that really does get better every season. Maybe not season 2 over season 1, because I really like season 1. So, like, all the openings are fantastic, but this new one is a fucking bop. Like, earlier I was playing some Xenosaga, and I was just listening to the Symphogear openings while doing a dungeon, because Xenosaga dungeons, for some reason, just don't play music. It's just these ambient sounds, and it's the same ambient sound for every fucking dungeon, and I don't care for it. But listening to Symphogear, I was like, this is great. These openings all fucking bop. The thing I wanted to point out was just Hibiki's Christmas sweater. I just really liked it. I thought it looked really nice. Miku's voice actress, her seiyuu, which I should have looked up what her name is, and that's my bad for not doing so. She fucking kills it this season, which we'll get to a bit later when we talk about the main antagonist of the season. But holy shit, like, I actually had to check at one point. I was like, I'm 90% sure this is just the same voice actress, but I want to be sure. Yeah, it is. She is doing a bang-up fucking job voicing Shem. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up was so in addition to the new transformation sequences, all the Symphogears have been upgraded because of the Bavarian Illuminati and using the Philosopher's Stones. So they now have another super form. It's called the Amalgam, like an amalgamation. Essentially, like, this is an amalgamation of, Symphogear technology and alchemist magic. And they get to do some real crazy, stupid shit. Biki with just these massive fucking hands. Suku with her, like, so first, like, she's got, like, a golden shield. I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And then she starts throwing it around like Captain America. But it's a yo-yo, so she's, like, got it on a string and shit. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I like the shield yo-yo. It just turned into a mech. It is a shield yo-yo mech. It's like, I loved that shit. Those are the ones that really stuck out to me. Again, Biki and Suku for some reason. But I thought it was really cool. So, going into the narrative of the season, at least to me, like, what I kind of felt like were the main plot points. So it starts in the South Pole, because of course it does, with an undersea, under ice coffin. And by coffin, I mean a giant fucking mech. And almost the entire first episode is just fighting this thing. And, like, with the, like, how big it was, the scale it was, the music playing, you know, how difficult it was to fight it. They even get new transformations during the fight. I was like, this season is starting with a final boss fight. Holy shit. But they beat the coffin, and inside of it is this mummified corpse with this, like, golden bracelet around its hand, which is the bracelet of Shem Ha, which is this, like, old powerful god or whatever. And, like, we'll get to Shem when they actually talk about what Shem is. But at that point, it's like, we just know it's some bracelet of a custodian, quote unquote. We have alchemists who were part of the Bavarian Illuminati, but are kind of more low tier. You find out a bit later that they were test subjects from the Illuminati, are trying to steal the bracelet, and they want to use its power, and they want their benefactor to help as well, quick plan on that, to become human again. These people, they're Noble Red, that is the name of their trio, is Vanessa, who was a cyborg. She's the only one that gets an actual explanation. It was she was a researcher working on some of the Bavarian Illuminati stuff. I don't remember if they said... I know they said what... It was the Faust robe, that was it. Like, she was specifically, like, researching Faust robes. She was caught in an explosion. She was repaired. I think they said, like, using parts of the Faust robe. And now she is a cyborg. The other two, there is literally no explanation about how they became what they are. But there's Milark, I believe that was her name, who's a bat girl. Like, she's got fangs, she's got wings. And Elsa, who's a wolf girl, who doesn't have a tail, and said she has, like, these briefcases that will attach into her and can, like, do shit, which I'll talk a little bit more about their powers and abilities. Take the pin out. Their benefactor is Fudo Kazunari, also known as Tsubasa's grandpa / biological father, who I will probably call Pop Pop several times throughout the video. He is really the main antagonist of the season. And while Noble Red is like, we want to become human again, and we will do anything it takes to get there, Pop Pop is, I want to be able to protect the nation of Japan. I don't want foreigners being able to get their grubby little mitts or their grubby little feet all over my country. I want us to be strong. I want us to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And having a god in our back pocket on a leash is going to be exactly what we need to do it. And I won't let anything stand in my way. On top of that, part of his plan essentially involves defecting Tsubasa onto his side, which I can best describe as traumatizing her, gaslighting her, and then brainwashing her through the use of Noble Red, until eventually she does end up siding with him, and then at some point, the brainwashing fades, and some shit fucking happens. But before we get into that, a few episodes go by, fighting Noble Red, some skirmishes happen. You find out they need a very specific kind of blood type. What was it called? It was like soil red or some shit, something I'd never heard of before. And without it, I guess they're like slowly dying. And this is kind of how Fudo keeps them under control, is I'll give you this, and if you do what I tell you. At some point, they kidnap Elf 9 and they kidnap Miku. Elf they need for, it's kind of some alchemist purposes. Like, they found some bodies of some auto scores. They're like, hey, can you, like, we need you to bring these back up because, this is potential more minions. This is more shit we can use. This is really helpful. And then they try to offer. For Miku, it's, oh, sorry, my nose is super fucking itchy. Holy shit. For Miku, like it was discussed at the end of Season 4, when she and Biki had that fight at the end of Season 2 and they got like hit by that laser, it purified both of them so they no longer have original sin. And as a result of that, both of them are capable to be a vessel of a god. So, that is what Miku was here for. She is literally supposed to be, when we get Shem Ha... No, sorry, brain stop for a second. You are going to be the vessel of Shem Ha. And there's a point where Shem Ha forms, but it's just kind of this like floating eyeball in a cocoon thing, and they fight it for a bit and they try to break it, and then inside of the cocoon ends up being Miku, and then Miku at that point is possessed. I don't remember exactly what happens after. Oh wait, no, yeah, I know what happens after that. That's what that note is. Duh. So this is okay. So Miku wakes up. Miku is possessed. Biki is placed under house arrest because of just Fudo doing some shit in the background to interfere with Song. At one point, he has like a fake inspection done of them to kind of tie their hands for a bit. I'm assuming this was all Fudo and not someone else in the government. It's kind of what made the most sense to me. He also bans the use of the amalgam because it's like, hey, this is some new shit that hasn't been cleared with the government before. This wasn't in your previous filings with the government saying all the shit that Song can do. We don't want you using this until we've approved it. So there's literally a point where Biki is like right about to just fuck up all of Noble Red, and then it's like, hey, you guys have to literally stop because of bureaucracy, which is it's pretty funny. Like, I can't lie. It's like, really? Boy, these villains get really fucking lucky during this season. But anyways, there ends up being a raid against the Kazunari household, which leads to Fudo fighting Genjuro, which is really cool. Tsubasa having a duel with Maria. Maria essentially, she literally breaks Tsubasa's like mind control shit by slapping her. And I feel like it is important to say that while Tsubasa is brainwashed, she's still aware and in control of her actions. It's more like very strong suggestion. But slaps her, she breaks out of it, doesn't want to work with Fudo anymore. Fudo then tries to kill her. Her dad jumps in the way. He actually dies. And then Fudo gets attacked. He duels Tsubasa. He loses, but Genjuro's like, I can't let you kill him, Tsubasa. Because, like, your dad does not want you to become a monster. Like, my dad, Fudo, like, Pop is awful. We all know that. We are going to arrest him. We will make sure he rots in prison forever for all the shit that he has done. But don't taint yourself with human blood. Meanwhile, because he had betrayed Noble Red, because of course he did, Noble Red's like, well, fuck him. We're going to betray him. So essentially, I don't remember exactly what they were trying to do. They, like, released Miku from his hold. So now you have a god on the loose who immediately just massacres them. Just, like, shoots a beam at Elsa and Milark, and they just explode. And then kills Vanessa, and then she rebuilds them and enslaves them. They had like literally a Gios on their forehead, which I thought was pretty cool. And now they're her droogs. And now that they're her droogs and they were like remade by a god, they're actually fucking threats and they can fight. Let's see. So after that, the Americans are going to try to go to the moon so they can research like the lunar ruins and find some shit. And the main characters are going to protect the rocket so they can go, but the rocket ends up getting destroyed. And then when Noble Red tries to teleport away, Tsubasa breaks the teleporter. So it immediately activates. It's like, okay, it's about to activate. Everyone gather up. So everyone gathers up and we get teleported to the moon. There ends up being some... Here, let me pause this. Sorry, I just got a text. I just want to pause real quick. Okay, text has been responded to. So we're on the moon, fighting Noble Red, shit's going on. Around this time, we get Shem Ha's backstory and like what exactly she is. So my understanding of it is that she is like an old god, or if not quite a god, just like a really powerful celestial kind of being. And knowing that and then there are other really powerful beings. There was one named Enki, not Enkidu, but Enki. And that's where Maria's Ergetlim comes from. It's actually, like, her bracelet comes from him specifically. Shem was starting to betray them. She was starting to kind of think and work differently from the others. So she turned herself into the embodiment of human language. And even though she is killed and her body is killed because she is language, which is something so intrinsic to all of humanity, she essentially, a part of her, I think they said like a little data fragment of her, lives on in every single person. And the curse of Bilal, so the shit with the moon that we've been talking about since season 1, the reason it exists is because if humanity all understands each other and are united in language, Shem is at her most powerful, but if everyone has like different languages or are speaking different things and can't fully communicate, she can't come back. But in season 2, when Maria was singing the Apple song and she was trying to get phonic gain from all of humanity, as I called it, the Spirit Bomb song, the Apple song was a song that was pre-curse. I'm thinking of old Jack and Daxter. It's actually some precursor shit. But it was pre-curse, which means it was from like the universal language that everyone could understand. So the Spirit Bomb song, the reason it worked and resonated was not because Maria was super vulnerable and people truly resonated with what she was singing with her heart. It was, no, literally, like, this song is something that can unite people because it is from that universal language when everyone understood each other. So that moment when all of humanity was united was what awoken Shem. Or Shem, excuse me, I believe it was an M. And Adam, in season 4, apparently, like, the coffin had tried to rise a few times and, like, get Shem resurrected or, like, back into, like, the rotation of the planet or whatever, like, in circulation of shit. And he's like, no, I have to take care of this because she is a problem. And then, yeah, after they kill him, he's like, oh, you have doomed us all. Like, you don't know how useful I actually am. I'm like, yeah, shout out to Lord Genome and the fucking Lord Ruler. This is starting to feel very fucking familiar. Like, in a cool way. So that's Shem's whole thing. They try to, like, delete her as a virus. It doesn't work. The members of Noble Red sacrifice themselves, but get the main characters back to Earth, where them and Carol, who earlier in the season is essentially like she's still there inside Elf. Think of it like a Yugi Yami kind of thing. Excuse me. They're able to fight Miku, and it takes a couple attempts, or it's like some shit happens during the fight. It's a pretty fucking cool fight, and then they win. And then they get together, and now that Miku has literally, like, had the god punched out of her, is cool now, but she's still using a Symphogear, and now that you have 7 people, you can use the 7 melodies, which, having just, like, Clay just finished Earthbound, I was like, I thought it was 8 melodies. But now they have these 7 melodies, you have 7 singers, and everyone sings, and they all sing this very lovely song, and save the world from Shem's full control. And then there is one final scene between Hibiki and Miku, with the two of them hanging out, and Miku saying, is like, hey, there's something I really want to tell you that I've been meaning to tell you for quite a while. And then Biki going, I have something to tell you too. And I think we're about to say the same thing to each other. And that's how the show ends. I just wanted to see, like, was there anything else I was missing? No. So that's pretty much, in terms of plot, what happened in season 5. I almost said season 4. That's what happened in XV. Definitely some interesting shit. I will say, Because I remember back in season 1 with Fiend being like, all right, there was also a part where someone said, I'm fine, and I did just read it as I'm Fiend. And it's like, oh, I've been watching too much Symphogear, man. But, I remember back in season 1 with Fiend, and like, yeah, I helped construct the Tower of Babel, and I've essentially rebuilt it, and I'm using Roland's sword, the relic Durandal, as a battery, so I can fire it as a giant laser to blow up the moon, because it's a symbol of God's oppression, and going, what the fuck are they talking about? This is so dumb, and I'm loving every second of it. And then by the end in season 5, it's like, yeah, the main antagonist is like, she is the embodiment of human language and all that crazy shit. And I'm watching it going like, no, yeah, this makes sense. It's like, that's how you know I've been watching too much Symphogear. Because I remember telling that to Clay, and he's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? This sounds fucking deranged. I'm like, no. This makes sense. This is actually kind of sick. I love it. But so that's just talking about the actual story. But I want to talk about some of the I don't know if character arcs is really the right word, because aside from Tsubasa, it doesn't feel like anyone else really does. Like, Biki has this recurring thing where it's like, number one, the members of the Bavarian Illuminati, that being like SG, Kags, and Prelati, when they died, like, the Philosopher's Stones were left behind. Our Symphogear have now been like made with that. I don't want their sacrifices to be in vain. I don't want to let them down. I don't want to fail. I hate the idea of giving up. I hate the idea of losing, given how much is on the line and like all the people I want to protect. And of all the people I want to protect, there's one in particular. Sorry. The way it kind of felt to me, like, I thought that kind of shit was good, but it really felt like there's not a whole lot of story arcs left for these characters, and I'll get to Tsubasa in a second, because I really liked it. But I kind of liked that. It, to me, really felt like we've given the characters enough growth throughout the series that, for the most part, they don't really need much more. Like, here's something for Hibiki that does make sense, and I do like some of the stuff with her relationship with Miku. They have a conversation where they actually get into a fight where, Tsubasa is not doing super well. I think I should just need to go and talk about why Tsubasa is the way she is in this season. Then I can talk about the fight with Miku and Miku stuff. So, in episode 2, Tsubasa holds a concert. And if you've been watching Symphogear, you know that's really, really bad, because nothing good ever happens at a Tsubasa concert. So, which the concert is wonderful, though. Like, the choreography and her number with Maria, and the song is really good, and their dresses are fucking beautiful. Like, it's a great sequence. But after, they get attacked by Alkanoids, and I remember in season 3, I'm going on a lot of tangents, maybe a little bit more than usual. In season 3, when the Alkanoids were first introduced, like, holy shit, it's mobs, but they're actually really threatening with the way they're, like, deteriorating Symphogears and shit. I like this a lot, because the noise at first were really threatening, and then they just kind of became, whatever. The Alkanoids pretty quickly ended up becoming the same thing, though. They had a really cool showing at first, and then it's just, yeah, here's the mobs, and then we fight the boss, like, at a fucking, like, Senran Kagura stage. But, what was the point I was trying to make? Anyways, that's right. Concert, a bunch of Alkanoids show up. Tsubasa and Maria are kicking ass, but a lot of people are still dying. Because there was, 100,000 people and a fuck ton of noise. And there's only so much 2 people can do when there are hundreds, if not thousands, of monsters. There's a point where Milark, who's the Batgirl, this is her introductory fucking scene, by the way, is fighting Tsubasa. There's some distance, and then Tsubasa closes the distance, and Milark, grabs a girl and puts her, uses her as a human shield. Tsubasa's sword is right there, but doesn't hit the girl. Tsubasa pulls back, kind of like, you bitch, you cheating fuck. And she's like, yeah, I am a cheating fuck. I know I can't beat you, one-on-one. I gotta do shit like this. I also gotta do shit like this. And then she punches the girl, through her stomach, impaling her. which I have heard is referred to as the donut scene. Like, I get it. I hate it, but I get it. And that girl fucking dies. And Tsubasa, seeing someone who looks, I don't know, like, it's definitely a kid. I don't know if she's like a teenager, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger. But seeing a kid die in front of her and being unable to save that person fucking breaks her. Like, she has severe PTSD throughout the season, and it's not just remembering that scene, but she just has this sense of, I am too weak. You know, I want to be a protector. That is my thing. But I can't do that. I just keep losing. And then a few other incidents throughout the season where they're not quite able to do what they're supposed to. You know, not able to finish off Noble Rudd, not able to win at this mission. And Pop being like, mere songs can't save the world. Yeah, dude, did you watch season 2 where that's literally what happened? Did you watch any fucking episode of Symphogear where the singing is really fucking important? Like, are you stupid or something? Anyways, he's doing everything he can to be like, that's not enough. That's not enough. You are too weak. But I still have hope for you. You know, you have my blood running through your veins, like the noble Kazanari blood. Like, I won't give up on you the way I've given up on your father, or the way I've given up on my sons. There's still hope for you. Also, after that girl gets murdered right in front of her, I'm not exactly sure what she did, but she put some kind of spell on her. Because at first I was like, oh, is that just going to, like, seal her powers? No, it doesn't, because Tsubasa can still use her powers. There's a scene where she's fighting a bunch of Alkanoids later, and she sees all of them as Milark, and she just goes completely apeshit. Like, I want to murder this person. Understandably so. But it's not like she sees her allies as them too. I was like, oh, this could be really fun. No, she's just seeing the monsters as a monster, so I'm not exactly sure what it did, but it kind of implanted something in her, because later then Pop is able to kind of trigger it and brainwash her. So she's going through a lot of shit. I feel like the best way I can sum up Tsubasa's arc in season 5 is she goes from being wings to back into a sword. And then after her conversation, fight, and slap with Maria, goes back to being wings. And I can see people saying it's like, well, it feels like kind of a retread of who she was in season 1, where she was a lot more aloof, a lot colder to her companions. And she's like, I want to be able to fight alone and shit. And I'm like, in a sense, given the events that happened, I thought it made sense. Given how much of a piece of shit Pop is, I believe that he would do something like that. And by the end, like, her standing up to him and, like, kicking his ass in the fight, and the fight was so fucking cool, was really, really satisfying. But during her arc, there's a time when she hangs out with Beaky, Miku, and Elf, and they go to karaoke, and she's like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't really know why the fuck I'm here. I mean, you guys are my friends. It's nice to see you guys, but this isn't really helping me. Like, Grandpa was saying how music can't really save people, but that's kind of all I have, and singing karaoke is kind of reminding me of that. And then Elf9, by the way, like, while all these conversations are happening, she's just singing her heart out, and it's really pleasant. And then Beaky and Miku just start yelling at each other. Miku's like, you're so fucking selfish. Like, you invited your friend who was struggling because of how, like, her issues with music, and you brought her to sing? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, well, excuse me for not knowing exactly what was going on in my friend's head. I just thought she wasn't doing so well, and maybe, just maybe, being around her friends would make her feel better. Why do you think you know what Tsubasa's feeling? Because I do understand what Tsubasa is feeling. Which led to one of my favorite moments, is Miku telling Hibiki, like, do you understand how guilty I feel for inviting you to that concert. I invited you to that because I thought it'd be really cool. Just the two of us as friends going and hanging out. And I wasn't able to go because, shit outside of my control, but you still went. And when you came back, you were the only fucking person to survive, which led to all the shit that happened. It led to you getting horrifically bullied. It led to your dad leaving. And then eventually, because of the fucking gun gear that ended up in your chest, it led to you becoming like a superhero. So every time you go out there and you put your life on the line and you come back exhausted, you come back wounded, like your school life is completely falling apart, all of that is because of me, because I invited you somewhere and I couldn't even go with you. Like, I should be shouldering all of this with you, but I can't. And I hate that. Like, I feel like I fucked up my best friend's life. And that hit me pretty fucking hard. It's really interesting. It's interesting. It makes sense. And I just feel like this, it's just a really sympathetic feeling. But also, I can relate to it. There was a time several years ago where a friend of mine had lost his mom. And I remember going over to his place the next day just to be there for him. Spend as much time as I could. Just if you want to talk, I'm here. If you want to listen, I'm here. If you want to do something to get your mind, like whatever you need right now, I am here for you. And I remember there were some other people who would come over. I think they were like more friends of his sister. And they came over, offered their condolences, and they had something very similar. And they had brought a good amount of marijuana. This was definitely before marijuana became basically legal everywhere. So my friend had always kind of liked smoking weed. And like, if you want to do it, you want to do it. But you shouldn't. It's illegal. It's like super illegal. You really fucking shouldn't. But I guess. Because I was very straight edge at the time. And even now, I don't drink super often. I don't smoke super often. But especially back then. So they came over and they brought some weed. And I remember him holding it. He was holding it. And then he looked at me. He didn't say anything. But he gave me that look like, I know you don't like it when I smoke. And I know that you think I shouldn't. But right now, is it okay? And I didn't say anything, but I nodded. I just gave him yeah, like, if this is something you need, this is something you fucking need. He's definitely in a much better place now. This was several years ago, like I said. But he got very, very addicted to marijuana. And it was something that was heavily affecting his life. And I remember like seeing him like that, like just how much time he would spend pretty much doing nothing but smoking or like thinking about the next time he could smoke. Some of the people he was hanging out with, like some of them were still great friends of mine, or still great friends, like they're fantastic. Some of them not so much. And it's like there's like this is just not great for him. And I mean, I don't want to be that asshole being like, I know what's good for you, but like this, he's really not doing well. He's been like this for a while. And I couldn't escape that thought of, I nodded. Like he looked to me and was like, is this okay? And I said, yeah, it is. And there was that part of me that was like, don't give yourself that much credit. This is not because of you, like you blah, 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 blah. But then I was also like, it really might be though. Like I feel partially responsible for what's happened. And I remember like after I'd kind of like had those thoughts at one point, he basically confirmed it. He's like, yeah, because I think I was talking to him about it. And he's like, yeah, I mean like, you say I really shouldn't smoke and shit, but, like, you nodded back then, so, you kind of said it was okay. And I was like, well, what do you know? I was right. This kind of is all my fault. Like I said, he is doing fantastic now, and I am so fucking happy that he is. But hearing Miku say that to Hibiki, I was like, oh, this is familiar. This is really familiar. This is really fucking sad. So I liked this little storyline a lot. I also really like Elf's character. I will say this. In season 3, I thought she was fine. I thought she was okay. I feel like I liked her quite a bit. Definitely as the season went on. In seasons 4 and 5, Elf9 has genuinely become one of my favorite characters in Symphogear. And just her arc in season 5 is essentially, I do a lot as an alchemist, essentially like the group researcher, as like the technician. But I want to be a bit stronger. I want to help in more ways if possible. And I'll talk about it a little later, but oh fucking boy does she. And what might be my favorite episode of the show. I was really fucking happy when it happened. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. I have 2 more sections I want to talk about. When I get to the hype moments of this season, I will talk about the really, really cool episode that I love. But before that, I do want to talk about our antagonists. There's essentially 3. There's Pop Pop, Noble Red, and Shem. Pop Pop, when I look at him, purely just from his motivation, it's honestly pretty easy to see where he's coming from. Because, World War II happened. So seeing a dude, who's a much older guy, so he certainly fucking lived through that, saying, like, I don't want foreigners coming into my country and polluting it and controlling it. And while he never says, like, it's because of World War II or anything like that, you kind of get that sense. Like, this is not just, I don't like foreigners because I'm an asshole. This is deeper than that. Like, this is this incredibly strong nationalistic pride because that pride has been trampled on. And him saying that we need a protector. We need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet and defend ourselves. And if we have a god, a literal god in our pocket, no one can stand up to us. Given what he's probably lived through, that makes a lot of sense. Dare I say, it's a little sympathetic from a pure motivation standpoint. Then you get into his actions. The way he treats his sons with just this, I can't even say disdain. Because I think the technical definition of disdain is like, you care so little you don't even acknowledge them. No, he acknowledges them. It's just he's constantly insulting them, belittling them, saying like, you disgrace, yelling at them for being shit. It's just so unpleasant. There's also the way he treats Tsubasa, which is more or less the exact same. And then in this season, like in season 4, he basically treats her the same. And in season 5, I think it's worse. Given how he brainwashes her. Like, he uses this one failure that he essentially set up because he's the benefactor of Noble Red, and is just rubbing it in her face as much as he possibly can to make her feel as weak and vulnerable as possible to manipulate her. And you cunt. I hated him. I'm glad there was just a truly horrible, just despicable villain. Which Vare was, but it's Dr. Vare. It's Sugita. He's the most entertaining, over-the-top character in the whole show. Which is, I'm assuming, why they brought him back in season 3 and then gave him a voiced cameo in season 4. Because he's great television. Fudo, though? He's just awful. And yeah, the fact that he's the God Killer is going to be a problem, but the fact that the best friend is the vessel means I really don't have to worry about it. Oh, you piece of shit. The fact that he's manipulating Noble Red is like, I 100% plan on betraying them. Why wouldn't I? You know, when someone's not useful anymore, you cut them loose. Piece of shit. When Tsubasa says, no, I'm not going to go with you, he pulls out a fucking gun and he shoots her. Doesn't work because her dad took the bullet, but he fucking died. He literally murdered his own son, and he starts laughing. He's reveling in it, and it's like, I didn't think you could get worse, but you have. How are you a worse father than Beaky's? I hated that guy. But as we see in XV, God bless him, he's at least trying. And while watching GX, it really feels like this dude's like, I kind of have nowhere to go but up, so I might as well try. And like, hey, you know, my daughter's really famous. I mean, maybe she can improve my life. And it just felt so slimy, and I hated him. At least it feels like he is still trying, and like he's not living with her mom anymore. They even kind of bring that up. I don't remember exactly how Beaky said it, but it was essentially like, yeah, like there's a lot of scars, and scars don't heal. You know, Kung Fu Panda 2, it's like scars don't heal. No, like wounds heal. What do scars do? Fade, I guess. It's kind of like that. It's like, you know, like the scars haven't healed. They're still there, and the family's wary. But he is trying, and we are giving him that chance. And there's a part like where she's under house arrest. She goes to her dad's house, just kind of see him, and she's like, look, like, I just kind of wanted to see you and talk to you, and like, I have to be stuck somewhere. I just, you know, kind of wanted to see how you're doing. Fuck Fudo. It's like, this dude was a piece of shit, but he at least tried and is still trying, and I'll give him that credit. This guy never did, and the fact that he's Tsubasa's dad, technically, like, he's her father, not her dad, but like, oh gosh, that's so just icky. So moving on to the next villain, we have Noble Red. We have our trio. We have Vanessa, the cyborg, Milark, the bat, and then Elza, the wolf girl. So Noble Red is both the single best antagonist group in Symphogear and the single worst antagonist group in Symphogear. I feel like I can make a good faith argument for both. So starting with the best. Number one, I love their designs. I think they're all like pretty cute. Like, you know, like the wolf girl, very cute. Milark, pretty cute. And then Vanessa? Damn. I remember the first time she was on screen, I was like, oh, well, hello there. And then when it comes to their powers, I think they're actually pretty cool. Like, there's a little bit of, like, alchemy shit that they can do. But mostly it's like, okay, so Elza, like I said, she doesn't have a tail, but she carries these, like, briefcases that she can attach into her back. So they function like a tail. And they're like these giant Pac-Man claw machine shit that she can use to attack. She can use it as a shield around her. At one point, she just starts using rollout. It's like, this is really fucking cool. Milark does this thing where, like, her blood will, like, coagulate around her arms or her legs and just make them, like, a lot bulkier and a lot stronger. She can fly, which, I mean, it's Symphogear. Most characters at some point end up fucking flying. But she has wings and consistent flight, and I really like it. And at one point, she just makes, she makes a swarm of bats. She makes a clone of bats. It was pretty fucking cool. I liked it a lot. And Vanessa, being a cyborg, is just like, all right, most of my body is mechanical, so, like, I've got rockets in my feet, I've got, like, my arm can be like a drill, it can shoot shit, my boobs are literal missiles, which, for literal, like, mechanical missiles, those things jiggle a fuck ton. Like, I don't think that works like that. Am I complaining? No. No. I don't think it works like that, though. But just, like, the actual shit they can do, I think, is really cool. Now, they're not that strong. I don't think it's a stretch to say of all the antagonists that they are just the weakest. But I like that they acknowledge that. These three know in a straight fight, we are going to lose every time. So let's never make it a straight fight. They're a lot more clever and a lot more vile with what they do. Like I said, in the concert scene, Milark takes a hostage and then kills the hostage to, like, just inflict psychological damage and then, like, does some shit to kind of brainwash Tsubasa. She tries to do it again to Biki later and it doesn't quite work. And she's like, okay, like, I guess that doesn't work on you, fuck. There's a part where they're fighting on a highway and against Vanessa, and she's like, yeah, if you dodge, like, the cars behind you are going to take damage. I might kill some people. Maybe you shouldn't dodge my attack. She's like, oh, you piece of shit. There's a scene where they're trying to get blood from a hospital, and then so, as, like, Milark is getting her ass kicked, Vanessa just starts destroying, like, a lot of the electricity in the area, like, a lot, like, the generators and shit. She's like, yeah, I shut all that shit down. You know what that means? That means the people in the hospital now don't have power going to them. So if you want to save those people, chop chop, you should probably get on that now and let me and my friends go. You clever bitch. There's a part where they realize that there's a tracker has been put on them. They're like, oh shit. Those girls are going to be on our asses. We're going to get fucked. Hold on. If they're coming to us, we can set a trap. So they set up a bunch of mines. So as soon as the girls land, which, by the way, this happened a lot this season. I know it's happened in other seasons too, but I really noticed it in XV, where one of the girls would be singing and, like, kicking ass. And then at some point during the song, they just get fucking blasted by something and the song just cuts off. I think this was Biki's transformation. Like, she starts singing and almost immediately they land and a bunch of explosions go off. They're like, yeah, we planted a minefield because we knew you guys would be on our asses, idiots. They're like, okay, that's the area that Noble Red was standing in just a second ago. There can't be mines there, so they stand there, and then Noble Red's like, yeah, we figured you would go there, so we set up another trap and make a giant fucking pyramid labyrinth. That was pretty cool. And the fact that they consistently weaponize their weakness and find other ways to fight was, to me, it was so consistently clever and despicable. The shit they would do. Like, fuck. I like them a lot. Also, like our Bavarian Illuminati alchemists in Season 4, there is strong camaraderie between the three. You can tell that they are very good friends. Excuse me. And there is some sympathetic qualities. In addition to them being very close, they were heavily experimented on. Like I said, they don't really go into how Elsa is a dog girl or how Milark is a bat girl. They just sort of are and were experimented on by the Illuminati because they were different. And their thing is, we want to become human again. We want to be able to be accepted because we've been rejected by most of humanity, or at least by the humans that we know for so long. And we don't want to live like that anymore. I'm like, okay, that's very sympathetic. That's very reasonable. I like this. But here's why they might be the worst villains. Number one, like I said, they're weak as shit. And while I do like how it's like, okay, I can't win in a straight fight, so I'm gonna employ other methods, I appreciated that. I liked that. But when those methods don't work and it is just, now it's time to fight, boy, do they get fucking clowned on. To the point where I'm like, I can't really take them seriously as threats. Like I was saying earlier, there's a part like when Biki first uses her amalgam, and it's right after the minefield shit. She is about to annihilate them. And then, hold on, we just got a call from the government. We can't do this. That is a fucking Deus Ex Machina if I have ever heard one. That is some bullshit. There's a part where Maria and Chris are fighting Vanessa and they like kick her ass. And coincidentally at that time, there's some shit going on in the chateau. Because yeah, the chateau came back. That's where like Miku was being held. And like when Elf9 was kidnapped, she was there too. It's like, oh well. It happened to activate and the light went on at that exact moment, which gave Vanessa the time she needed to make her escape. Like, okay, like that's... I mean, like, she does, like, some other... She uses that as a distraction to do some shit. Like, yeah, that's kind of bullshit. You guys just aren't that tough. And for the final set of antagonists, I would have liked a stronger threat. Like, if these were... Because I kind of said about our Alchemists in Season 4... They didn't seem as strong to me as the auto scores. They didn't seem as strong of a threat. They could still be threatening. It wasn't like, man, they're trash. But I did feel like they just weren't as tough as the previous antagonists. Like, if they were flipped, because those girls had more street cred than these three, I think it maybe in that way could have worked a little bit better. But here's to me the big problem. The real problem with Noble Red. Yes, they have a sympathetic goal of we are monsters, but we want to be human again. I felt no sympathy toward them. They are so consistently awful. And like I said several times, they are vile. And if they were written that way and stayed that way, like, no. You are not supposed to sympathize with them. They are the antagonists. They are fucking awful, and you want to revel in them being defeated. It would have been great. But no, they have a sympathetic motivation of we want to become people. We want to be understood. And Beaky being Beaky is like, I can always give someone that chance to want to be understood. They don't deserve it. Not to me. Not after that shit they pulled in the concert. Not after all the... Because, like, even when I look at Season 4, in Season 4, it was very much, we are killing a lot of people to do what we are trying to do. However, we genuinely believe that what we are doing is for the greater good, not of ourselves, but of all of the human race. The people we are killing are the building blocks of the future. This is not a heartless, soulless sacrifice. Their lives had meaning, and they still have meaning. There's nobility in what SG is doing. Am I rooting for her? Fuck no. But I get it, and like, that sounds like a character that has a long laundry list of sins. But when Beaky's like, I want to work with you because there's something good in there, I can believe it and I can kind of root for it. Here, when their whole thing is, I'm not a monster and I don't want to be treated as a monster. Also, I'm going to use this kid as a meat shield and then murder that child because I know it'll break you mentally. And just to make sure, I'm going to put a little curse on you by looking into your eye. That'll completely fuck with you. But I'm not a monster. You're a fucking monster. It's not because of the way you look. It's not because of the powers you have. It is because of your vile fucking personality. So when they get their redemption, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for them for the way they've been treated, I'm supposed to feel sorry for them now that they're dying, I didn't at all. I think I audibly groaned when I got to that. Like, this doesn't work. I will say the part where Miku blows them the fuck up, I cheered. I was like, that's good shit. That was wonderful to watch. Fuck you. Elsa's not as awful as the other two, but yeah, kind of fuck you too. Oh yeah, also, they actively try to kill Elf9. Like I said, one of my favorite characters of the show, and like, aside from Hibiki, probably just the most unambiguously nicest person in the show. And they're like, oh yeah, you did what we needed you to do, so now we can just kill you. And again, it's not just like these are our orders, we gotta do what we gotta do, I'm sorry. It's, nope, I'm happy to do it. Like, why am I supposed to feel any sympathy for them? It doesn't work. The best example I can think of, like, for something to me that's very similar, is The Walking Dead. Not the show, but in the comic. When the governor is first introduced, how does that work? He cuts off Rick's hand. He tries to get everybody murdered. It doesn't quite work. He might have gotten someone, I don't remember. But, like, he's immediately a terrible piece of shit. He kidnaps Michonne, has her, like, locked away, tortured, and, like, constant, I don't know how many times he did it, but he fucking raped her. He does so many horrible things. Not long after his introduction, I'm like, oh, he's a fucking piece of shit, and I want to see him die. Great. I have a villain to actively root against. Fantastic. Fuck this guy. Then at some point you get the whole thing of like, well, his daughter turned into a zombie and he keeps that zombie around because that's his daughter and he still loves his daughter and he wants to be able to save her one day because he knows in his heart of hearts that maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to get a cure, and if so, I have to save my daughter's life. Like, no, don't fucking try to make me sympathize with him. I'm not. This guy's awful. He's been nothing but awful since he was introduced. The fuck is wrong with you? And if you watch the show, in the show, they made him seem a lot more pleasant and sympathetic early on. Then they introduced his more horrible qualities. And so by the time you learn the thing about his daughter, it's kind of in between where you can see the man and the monster. There was, here's the monster. Okay, but here's the man. Like, no. I just see the monster. And Noble Red to me is not different. So while I really want to like them and appreciate them as these vile pieces of shit, because the show tried to have its cake and eat it too, it just doesn't work and comes across as super fucking messy. I'm going to go and pause again. I think I had another text come in, but I'll be right back. Okay, took care of the text. So now we get to talk about Shemha. So the first thing I love about this character is the design. I get all her designs. You get like her past form, which just kind of to me look kind of like Iba from AI Somnium Files, which I think this looks really fucking cool. So I love that design. The other design is it's possessed Miku with these like red fucking eyes, this really sleek looking black dress. And the voice, which like I was saying earlier, it's like, man, Miku's voice actress fucking kills it. Because it's the same voice and it sounds nothing like Miku. Like, it's very husky. It's very haughty. It's very, you are not worth my time. And it's so fucking cool. It's like, everything just like from a design perspective, she's awesome. From a lore perspective, the whole, like, yeah, I'm this ancient monster that's like the embodiment of language that has been in humanity for fucking ever, and when that humanity united, I came out to play. So I'm like, this is fucking cool. I'm actually really down for this. What's your evil plan? I'm gonna, like, essentially make myself the god of humanity, and they're just gonna become, like, my meat puppets. That's kind of fucking cool. Like, I'm definitely oversimplifying it by saying meat puppets. It was some shit about how it's like, you know, the custodians have helped humanity, like, life evolve, and humanity was another step of that, and we're calculators for them to plan shit, I guess. We're her meat puppets. She's also going to use us as, like, a supercomputer, I guess, to find her brethren amongst the cosmos. Which on the one hand, I'm like, okay, so are we going to get a season 6? Because it has a very definitive feeling end, but I'm like, I mean, there's other custodians out there, so there's potential. And I think I heard that after a live event like last year or so, they teased something new. So maybe there is going to be a season 6. Maybe there's going to be a movie. I don't know. Would be pretty hyped for it. But I'm like, I'm kind of, like, I'm vibing with her design. I'm vibing with her backstory and her plan. Again, not sympathizing with it, but I'm like, this is kind of cool. She's my favorite final boss. I also thought the fight was pretty fucking sick, because, like, a lot of the final bosses, like, the Nephilim is a really cool fight, but it's just a thing. I didn't care for it. Carol, love the character, but the final fight I thought was pretty lackluster. Fine's final fight, I don't super remember it, honestly. I think I thought it was all right, and as a character, I thought she was okay. Adam, I thought his fight was pretty good. The part at the end when Beaky went full JoJo is still possibly my favorite single scene in Symphogear. It's really either that or, like, the first 6 minutes of season 3. Excuse me. But in terms of his character, he was very just, he didn't do it for me. But I like pretty much everything about Shem. I'm like, okay, Fudo is awful, but he's a vile antagonist I'm supposed to think is vile, so they did a good job. Noble Red, I think, was way too messy, but they were at their best when they were just being super underhanded. Shem is really, really fucking cool. So overall, I think the villains were pretty successful in this season. So now I'm just gonna talk about just some of the really cool hype shit that happened. Some of it is not exactly cool, like the concert and the donut scene in particular. It's like, that's, I don't know. Okay, so, like, the actual song, like, again, like, the performance, the choreography, the dresses, the music, like, that was all super hype. It was wonderful. The fight, though, was still pretty cool. And just that scene of, like, this is what we're doing this season. This is how horrible our antagonists are. I'm on board for this. The first episode, the fucking fight with the coffin in the South Pole, that was some crazy shit. Like I said, the season started with a final boss. It was amazing. So I was talking earlier about, like, what might be my favorite episode in Symphogear, and just, like, one of my favorite moments in the entire series. So when Elf 9 is captured, Carol takes over her body and is like, no. I'm going to take care of this. Actually, no, so I think Carol takes over for, like, a second and then kind of fades away. What they had her do, I think I had said, it's like, oh, we found some auto scorers that were here. We want you to kind of wake them up using some alchemy. And these auto scorers just happen to be the auto scorers from season 3. It's like their bodies are heavily broken. So they're not at their peak. They're not in tip-top shape because, of course, Noble Red has to be able to beat them. And if they were in full shape, Noble Red would have gotten clowned on. But they come back, they're like, okay, this is our master. We are going to help you escape. And they're like, one of my favorite tropes is the dwindling party trope, when the character, either, like, everyone is slowly dying, or the, hey, you guys go, we can't, like, I'll hold them off, or we can't escape this room unless one person stays behind. Like, one of my favorite moments of Tales of Symphonia is the dwindling party in the Tower of Salvation. It's fucking wonderful. Basically, the auto scorers do that, and, like, I remember literally writing down on my phone as I was watching, my girls are back. And then at the end of the episode, after they've all been defeated, Carol just takes over Elf's body. She's like, I've got this. And she just solos Noble Red. They got their asses beat. And I was really, really happy to see them all come back and just kick ass. Carol has a fight against Miku where Miku's like, you're a human. You're beneath me. You're not worth my time. Why am I doing this? And by the end, she's like, okay, respect. I am a god, and you are a human. There's a definite tier list here, but you know what? You almost got me. You did some shit. I gotta respect you for that, and you know what? Just for that, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna give you the best seat in the house to the end of the world. I kind of dug that. all the fights with Shemha, like, both when they're fighting the, like, a cocoon eye thing, that was pretty fucking cool. And they're actually fighting Miku. There's a part where Hibiki's, like, about to deliver a finishing blow. And then it's just Miku's voice, like, are you really gonna hurt me? Which makes Miki stop, and then Shem's like, yeah, I gotcha! I'm like, you bitch! Why is everyone in this season so, like, underhanded? It's wonderful! I love it! The scene at the end where they are, like, the singing the 7 melodies, maybe it's the best song in the show. I don't know. It was really, really good. I fucking loved it. Fudo's fights, like when he's dueling Tsubasa, it's fantastic. His fight with Genjuro was also really cool. There's a part where he literally fucking seismic tosses Genjuro. I was so hyped. I wasn't hyped because Fudo was beating Genjuro. I'm like, that's not okay. But I was like, fuck, that was cool. I don't want to see this old bastard do something cool, but he did. I gotta give him his flowers. Yeah, the part where Noble Red breaks the rocket, and they're like, hey, now we're going to teleport away. Tsubasa says, no, I'm not going to let you do that. She breaks their fucking teleporter. They're like, all right, gang, get over here. We're not letting them escape this time. I really liked that. Akka and Suku just had a bunch of really cool combo moves. So I brought up earlier the shield yo-yo mech. There was one part where they combine and they basically like use the scythe to shoot a yo-yo as a buzzsaw yo-yo ballista that gets dodged, and then it starts fucking flying around like a fucking like a fucking TIE Fighter or an X-Wing, and just starts attacking Milark. You're like, then what the fuck is happening? This is so great. Yeah, that was XV. It was fucking great. It wasn't perfect. I don't know if it is my favorite season. I'm really gonna have to think about it. It's definitely not like but like it was bad. I just didn't like it. I very clearly had a good time. I think if Noble Red were consistently written to be just villains to hate and not trying to make them sympathetic by the end, that is my biggest problem with this season. I also, like I said, on the one hand, I would have liked, more character arcs for our main cast, but I also kind of like, it's like, we've done a bunch of shit with everyone at this point. Like, everyone's kind of Gucci. That's one thing I really liked about Maria in this season. I didn't really say much about her. She's had her arcs. She's had her development. Now she's just there to kind of help everybody else. Like, she is just there to be Tsubasa's homie. She is there to be Hibiki's homie when needed. And I really, really liked that. I would say, I think overall, I feel like I liked it more than season 4. I'm not as sure about GX, though. GX might still be my favorite season. It's really either GX or XV. I like GX a lot, man. I really, really did. This did bring my girls back, though. And it's like, so I still got to see, like, my favorite set of antagonists. I would say, I think just Carol and the Autoscores are my favorite antagonists in the series. Seeing them again, on the one hand, it's just kind of like yes, these are the good antagonists. It's good to see them again. Man, it's reminding me about how good GX is. But then I'm also like, they did get to show up in XV, so I gotta give XV some credit for that. And I really, really liked the ending. It had the best final boss, and I loved how much I despised Fudo, and I'll definitely have an answer by the time Biki's birthday rolls around. I'm like, here's my Symphogear finale until season 6 maybe possibly comes out. But what can I say? I did the thing. I watched Symphogear.